Welcome to another episode of The Read Pile. I am today talking about Gunsmith Cats. This is the Omnibus 1 put out by Dark Horse, and I grabbed this, I'm going to say, roughly a month ago. It has taken quite a while to get through nearly 600 pages of content, but I mentioned this more recently when I grabbed the Bubblegum Crisis Arch book. I'm sort of a longtime fan of Kenichi Sonoda. Bubblegum Crisis and Gunsmith Cats, obviously, are two anime that I watched in the 90s when I was first getting into really manga and anime in general, but it both really stuck in my brain. I loved the art style, and so when I saw Dark Horse was putting these out, I was super curious, and then at some point I did pull the trigger. No pun intended, and I grabbed the first one to see if I wanted to read more. There are 3 currently. Volume 2 should be coming out, I believe, in July, unless it already came out in June, and I really can't tell based on dates whether it's already out or coming out near the end of June, mid-July. I can't tell, honestly. Volume 3 is currently up for pre-order. I have requested Volume 2 from my comic shop, so I should have that shortly, and then Volume 3, I'm most likely going to get that as well, because I really enjoyed that, is the headline here. I really enjoy this. It is action-heavy. It has definitely comedic moments, but it is sort of a guns and cars book, and I'll say this too because it's somewhat unavoidable, but there's some weird sex stuff going on in this too. So the 2 main characters, these 2 women here, Riley and Minnie-May, they are young, I'll say. So Riley is 19, they say, and Minnie-May is 17 again. They say, I believe one of them has an undisclosed birthday during the series, because at some point I think Riley, they say, is 20. Anyway, they're both young is the point. And I mentioned weird sex stuff. So Minnie-May, I'll just get this out of the way. She is 17 at the start of the book, but she mentions this boyfriend of hers who's in his 30s, and she is a former prostitute, and she ran away 4 years ago. She started dating the guy 4 years prior, so she would have been 13 at the time. He was still in his 30s. I did the math on that. And it's not great. So an underage prostitute dating someone that's literally twice her age, and there's at one point a proposal. They're going to break into a brothel in order to get at this guy who has information. And there's a blowjob scene without a penis, because it's all done, I'm going to say, pretty well using negative space. But it was still very much a surprise, because it wasn't even an actual blowjob. It was the proposal of a blowjob. It was the idea of a blowjob, not a blowjob itself. And then later, there's a 2-page masturbation scene, and it's just like, what? It's whenever that stuff comes up, it's always like, it's a surprise for sure. And I don't think I've ever been called a prude, but it's just like, it stands out from the rest of the stuff. And there are elements, I don't know, I don't read as much anime as other people do, certainly my wife. So in my head, the fan servicey stuff of panty shots and like ripped shirts to show cleavage and stuff, I feel like that's something that the industry has moved past, and maybe I'm wrong, because I did read the first volume of Demon Hunter. Possibly I got the wrong title on that. I'll correct it at the top. But there was certainly enough weird stuff in that fan servicey poor treatment of women for sure. That book turned me off despite all of the praise for it. So I grabbed this, and it feels a bit like a time capsule because of the fan servicey stuff to me, but then just like the straight up sex stuff was really a surprise. Largely, though, it is about these two women, and Riley is a bounty hunter that also runs a gun shop called Gunsmith Cats. The S gets added, I think, early on in the book, because she recognizes that Minnie-May is also crucial to the shop. But it's a lot of car chases, it's bounty hunting, it is gunfights, and it's just really well done. The art is incredible. So a bunch of old cars, and they look, oh, it looks amazing. But also here's one of those scenes. So there's this knife fight that's happening, and her skirt gets cut, and then she's running along rooftops without a bottom. So it's all of this like stuff that happens. So this guy has his hand blown off, then he gets his sword attached, and then it's kind of pneumatic and he can launch it. But at one point he uses that sword to cut Riley's shirt, and so there's always that kind of stuff going on. But then there's, you know, the crime element, and the early chapters are largely self-contained. There is one or two where there are recurring villains that show up, but it's largely just these like cases of, you know, she's hunting some bounty. And then the back half of this book, so there's a more major recurring villain who shows up a few times, and there's a cross state lines car chase and a kidnapping, and they wind up in Minnesota. This happens all in the city of Chicago, which is my nearest major city. So it's cool to see. It's a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and the only criticism I have is I think there's some weird sex stuff going on, which is thankfully not that often. So there's the negative space blowjob that's shown early on, and then there is that 2-page masturbation scene, and those are the two really moments that stand out, and the rest of it is just kind of eye-rolling, panty shot and fan servicey stuff like that. But the art's incredible, and I really enjoyed the story. And I already said that I'm grabbing Volume 2, and most likely I'll get Volume 3 as well. So stay tuned for those videos once those books come out, once I have them in my hand, and try some manga.